What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. We are going to do the comparison video once again, okay? Buckle up. So we're going to try and look at Farseer versus Stormbringer. I'm going to show you the video in a second, but let's get the disclaimers out of the way, okay? The last time I did this video, of course, it was a little bit, I made some mistakes, of course. There's no Augvoker in this one. There's no, like, mage buff. There is one Demon Hunter buff in both keys that I run on the Farseer build and the Stormbringer build. So as far as I'm concerned, the playing field is fair, okay? The only thing that changes is the variables within the key itself, which does change a little bit. The way the tank was pulling in the second key was a little bit different than the first key. I can't really control that. Some of the timings of my cooldowns were a little bit different because the damage profiles in the key were a little bit different as well. Just keep that in mind, okay? Please take this all with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to see how the builds stack up against each other in this kind of environment. Just take that information and then extrapolate it into your own, game and take it or leave it, basically, because this is just one example in a vacuum, and there could be lots of other examples that would prove a slightly different point than what the information that I'm about to show you is gonna prove, okay? Just keep that all the way it is. Otherwise, my gear is the same. My builds do change by one talent. The Farseer build that I was trying, actually, I took Primal Elementalist instead of Charge Conduit because we're getting massive cooldown reduction on our Storm Elemental. So I wanted to see, like, maybe I can maximize my Storm Elemental uptime and get more damage out of him that way. So that's the only talent that changed, okay? On the Farseer build, I took Primal Elementalist. On the Stormbringer build, I took Charge Conduit. That's it, okay? The Farseer build that I was running was the RNG Farseer build, so you have it because it got buffed, right, recently. This is why we're redoing this entire video, is because the big changes that came through for Farseer, big buffs to Chain Lightning and Ancestor's Lava Burst, and then Routine Communication, as I was just showing you, went up to 8%. It was 5%. And then the buff to your spenders went up by 7%. So the Giga Chads believe that this is basically a 7% bonus to AoE and single target for Farseer Elemental Shaman. They still think that it's not going to be as good as the Storm build in Mythic Plus. That's the synopsis here from these guys, okay? I'm just going to give you all the information here. So that's the change that came through. We're trying Routine Communication plus Ancient Fellowship, and then on the Stormbringer build, nothing has really changed there. I'm doing Electrocute, I'm doing Natures. There's nothing to really choose here, to be honest. So that's that build there, okay? Everything makes sense. Let's get into the video. Let's just dive into the Farseer gameplay. I'm gonna shift through each of these as quickly as I can and just show you various packs and the damage that we're doing. So one of the big conclusions that I think I'm going to start with here is that on mass AoE packs, I think that the Storm build has a chance to do more damage, okay? Now, this is the Farseer build right here. This first video is the Farseer build. Just keep that in the back of your head. So we are peaking at 6 million here on the opening pack, which is pretty insane. The final damage for this opening pack was about 3.8 million, I think. We go down to 3.8 million. So not bad at all. That's a really good peak. But I think in general, Tempest is going to perform better on mass AoE versus the Farseer build, which is going to be doing better on smaller packs of mobs and particularly on single target encounters. Now, Mists of Tyrna Scythe, in particular, this dungeon has a lot of lower pack counts and single target encounters, right? Obviously the boss fights themselves are single target, but there's like a mini boss inside the maze that you have to fight. That's a single target encounter. And then the general pack size in this dungeon is not that big. We got a 2-target cleave fight coming up here. So I think right off the bat, this dungeon is probably a little bit better suited for the Farseer build versus the Storm build. That's just my immediate kind of napkin math assessment there, okay? Again, this is all going to depend on your composition and the damage profiles. Like, for example, my cooldown here, I use Ascendance right here on the Farseer build. In the Stormbringer one, you're going to see that I use Ascendance here as well. It's a slightly different pull, but my Ascendance timing on the boss fight ends up being different. So just keep that in mind, okay? That's the first major point. The second one is that I think there's some really hidden kind of gems inside the Farseer tree, namely the elemental blast buffs that you get consistently. So because we're running routine communication, you can see I have 3 ancestors with me right now. I'm going to get 3 buffs from elemental blast. You can see they're stacking up right now. 1, 2, 3. Like, that is crazy. And those buffs are up a lot, which means you're getting crit and haste and mastery like all the time, which is really, really, really good. That's kind of one of the big reasons why I think Farseer actually has kind of an advantage that people don't really notice, because it's like under the hood, right? Like, these bonuses are just up all the time, which is really cool. Okay, so we're doing the first boss fight here. This is Ingra Moloch. We are pushing. We're going to lust once the tree gets low. Here comes that moment right now. We just lusted. I send out my elemental. I have my Farseer, my ancestors are up. I have Ascendance up. I'm going. We're going to go from about 1 million damage per second to all the way over 2 million. We just absolutely pump right here with our ancestors as well. Just crazy amounts of damage. 2.13. I think our peak here ends up being 2.15. That's the peak. And then Blaylock actually blasts past us on the Warlock. He was going crazy. Look at his damage. The imps are just going crazy. Then I choose to stay on Ingra, which means I'm doing less damage, but I thought that was the correct choice. I don't think it actually was, because the tree is also dying just as quickly. And you can see people, they end up actually killing the tree faster than we end up killing Ingra. So that was a mistake on my part. That's a mistake that I made on the Farseer build. There we go. Our ending DPS on Ingra is 1.81 million, okay? Now, we'll go through the maze a little bit here. There's a mini boss, as I said, coming up, and the mini boss is really, really good for our damage. I found on most packs for Farseer, we were consistently doing about 2 to 4 million DPS, okay? Consistently on these smaller AoE packs. Remember, there's only ever 4 to 5 mobs in this maze section. If you were doing like a necrotic wake or something, I think the damage profile would probably be immediately better for the Stormbringer build. Here's the mini boss. Oh, no, not yet. Sorry, this is another pack. Again, we're doing 3 million here on this AoE pack. I just want to consistently kind of show that to you. There's another AoE pack. Let's see what we get up to here. We have Ascendance, so we're going to get up pretty high here. We have big Chain Lightnings coming out here. And then our Elemental Blast buffs, once again, are up here inside of our Ascendance window, which is just so good. So we're above 2 million damage once again. It's about 2 to 4 every single time. Here's our mini boss. No Ascendance here. No, like, proper Ascendance. I think we do get a proc maybe, but you can see our single target damage is actually really good. There's an Ascendance proc right there. We're up to 1.7 mil on a single target fight here. It's going to go down, of course, but the peak damage on single target stuff is just really good. It's just really good, okay? And then another AoE pack here. Again, between 2 and 4 million. We got an Ascendance proc. Everything looks good. We get to Mistcaller. Mistcaller, we have, we don't have Bloodlust up at all. So we're saving Bloodlust here, and that's the same for the next, for Stormbringer as well. When we do that video, I'll show you that we end up saving Bloodlust for after Mistcaller, which is great. The Mistcaller fight, pretty boring. We're just going to get to the very end here. I think I peak at 1 point, or my final DPS for Mistcaller is 1.05 million DPS. 1.05, 1.06, something like that. Okay, there we go, boom. That's the ending right there. Okay, then we get to the next AoE pack. This is the big one, the big kahuna, okay? We end up skipping this 3-pack with a Demon Hunter, very easy. And then we do a massive AoE pull here, okay? This is really big. This is always how this pull goes. We have Bloodlust. We have Ascendance coming off cooldown. We have Stormkeeper. We just don't have Storm Ellie. That's it. But we have everything else. I get a Flame Shock going over there. Liquid Magma Totem. I refresh the Liquid Magma Totem. We do a second Liquid Magma Totem into an Ascendance. I should have done Stormkeeper first, but it is what it is. Then we do Stormkeeper, big Earthquakes and Chain Lightning. We're going to start blasting here. I get as many Earthquakes down first as I can to get as many Lightning Rods out as possible. And then I consume my Stormkeeper. And that's going to do maximum damage there. Our Storm Elemental is coming off cooldown. I don't remember if I press him right away or not. I think I'm just too busy. Yeah, I forget to press him, which is unfortunate. But we peak here at about 4 million DPS. And we end around 3.6 million. So, like, The peaks and the valleys, I don't think are as big for Farseer. You have more consistency. I think on the Stormbringer build, your peaks can be really high if you get a couple Tempests inside of an Ascendance window, for example. But the valleys can be lower, I think, for the Storm build. Okay, last couple of AoE packs. Again, 2 to 4 million DPS. That is what we're looking at every single time. And then we'll get to the final boss fight here after we clear one more pack. We pull this right into the boss fight, but it does reset the DPS meters, I'm pretty sure. But we peaked pretty hard right there. That was huge. Big A. We got over 4 million there. Actually 5 million, I think. Yeah, we're at 5 million on this AoE pack. So again, you can get some really big, you can get some peaks with Farseer, but typically the peaks for the Stormbringer build are better, for sure, I would say. Those mountains are higher. Okay, we're pulling into the boss here. Here's Tradova. We have Bloodlust. I have Ascendance. We're gonna go. Everything's Gucci. And I'll just fast forward through this. We start out at about 2 million there. We're peaking. And then the final DPS for Tradova is 1.78 million. Right? No. That's 1.3 million. Sorry. 1.3 million. There it is. I don't know what I was. Oh, I'm looking at final DPS numbers. Now we have one more pack to kill. Okay. Kill the one more pack. Yada, yada. Our final numbers are 1.78 million damage per second. And we're going to look at that right now. So Ancestors are our top damage, then Earthquake, then Chain Lightning, then Lava Burst. There it is right there. Our Primal Storm Elemental ended up doing 4.2% of our damage. The Greater Lightning Elemental is the guy that spawns when we press Stormkeeper. So the Primal Storm Ele actually really impressed me. Having him up more often, I believe was a good thing for this build, because again, you get cooldown reduction with this build, right? Okay, so that's Farseer. 1.78 million, no Ogvoker, no mage buff, just the Demon Hunter buff. That's all we're getting there. Okay, we're gonna go to the Stormbringer build now. 2.5 to 2 minutes 5. Now we'll go to the opening pack here. Here we go. So opening pack for the Storm build now. Big Storm build. Ascendance into triple Chain Lightning with Earthquakes. I almost die. I get bopped here, thankfully. Get as many Earthquakes down as possible, then consume your Stormkeepers. Get the Earthquakes down first, then consume your Stormkeepers, okay? We have increased Lightning Rod damage, but we are losing out on our elemental damage. Now, unfortunately, I get stunned there, which really nukes my damage. Again, this is just a variable, guys. Remember, take it all with a grain of salt. I can't control whether I'm getting channeled with Overgrowth, okay? So my opening pack damage is not as high as the Farseer one was, because it's just because of that. We pull this pack, we get our buffs, and then he's pulling this into the double guys. So he does a big sort of a combo pull here. Again, this is different than the Farseer key. I can't control this. I'm just pugging these, right? So, man, remember, just keep it all in mind. There's not much I can do here. Also, my Ascendance isn't off cooldown yet, okay? Because I think overall, our team is doing more damage in this key than in the last one, okay? So I can't control that once again, but my Ascendance is not off cooldown yet like it was with the Farseer one. But there you go. We're doing the double heal here, and we're at 1.84 million there. Now we go to the boss fight. Now I'm gonna focus on the tree here, of course. I have my Fire Elemental. I get an Ascendance proc. That's really nice to boost my damage at the beginning. We deal with the Affix. Then we're back on the tree. And then we get Repulsive Visage, and I didn't have Tremor Totem because I'm an idiot. In the previous key, we had another Shaman who did have Tremor Totem, and I just forgot to change my talents back because I didn't need Tremor Totem because he had it. Okay, now we don't have Ascendance for this first thing here. We do Bloodlust, but I don't have Ascendance, which is really sad. I do get a couple Tempest procs, which is really nice. So our damage is okay, but it's certainly, the peak is not as good as the Farseer build. However, we have Ascendance coming off cooldown here. So we're going to go on the tree, and then we're going to go into an Ascendance window in the second half here. Okay. Here comes the Ascendance window right now. Oh, I just blew it up. Never mind. Here comes Ascendance. Boom. And then watch our numbers climb. 1.5 million, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.91 at the very end. So we just like turned the gas on, and we climbed all the way up to 1.91 million. That's actually higher than the final DPS on Farseer. The final DPS for Farseer was 1.8 million. This was 1.91. So again, very, very strong, and it's just where the cooldowns happen to line up, okay? We have a different pathway here going through the maze. Again, I can't control the maze or the pathway. There's nothing I can do about that, but we're going through. AoE packs. Again, I think these smaller AoE packs, I think it's better for Farseer for these AoE packs, but our damage wasn't bad. It's basically between 2 and 4 million once again, pretty consistently. As long as I'm getting those Tempest procs. We kill this first pack. We'll go to the next pack here. Again, we're over 2 million. Once again, we're into 3 million right there. We have, that's Ascendance, actually. We're in Ascendance right now. So we're getting a lot of big damage. They keep knocking me back, but I have a lot of instant cast abilities. I get another Ascendance proc right there. I have a lot of instant cast abilities, so it's totally fine. And there's my, that's a pretty good damage window right there, right? Pretty good for Tempest. Over 3 million the entire time. Here's the next pack. We have no Ascendance here, but we do have Liquid Magma Totem with our Primordial Wave, which I'm going to drop right now. We're going to get up above 2 million here, I think, in a second. Get some Earthquakes down. Once we get the Chain Lightnings going, there we go. The Lightning Rod damage kicks in. There's a Tempest. We're up to 3 million suddenly. As soon as you get a Tempest proc, it's just like insane. Now, unfortunately, that Nourish the Forest went off, and these guys basically full heal. So, but we maintain, you know, 2 to 3 million DPS there for that whole pull, which is really good. And we'll go to the next pull here. Again, 2 to 4 million is what we're maintaining. This now, here's where our damage falls off, definitely, compared to the Farseer build. This single target mini boss here, I don't have Ascendance, and I don't have, obviously, have the Farseers, which are on a 30-second rotation, so that you can get multiple Ancestors out in this window, and it's just really, really good. So our damage starts to fall here. We were doing like 860 there, and then we fall all the way down to like 700, 660 by the end there. So that single target damage definitely falls down, which is unfortunate. Here's an Ascendance window. Just gonna blow these ads up. Get a Tempest proc here. Boom. Another one. And then we have some Chain Lightnings into an instant Tempest. Oh, I forgot to do it. Oh my god, the damage is pretty. We're peaking above almost 5 million. We got an Ascendance proc there. So 4 to 4.5 million there. We basically overkilled the pack, to be honest. Now here's Mistcaller. No Bloodlust on Mistcaller. As with the Farseer build, same thing. Our damage is low at the beginning, and then it does sort of climb by the end, but not the most impressive. I think our damage on this fight was much lower than the Farseer one. Our Mistcaller damage for Farseer was 1.05 million. On this one, it's like 800k. Look at that. We're going all the way down to 800k there. So yeah, 800, 805. So much less, about 200,000, 250k less damage. So now we're gonna lust this pack again. Double AoE pack, really, really big. This is probably where Tempest is gonna shine, I would say. Our Elemental is back this time, which is interesting. We have Stormkeeper, we have our Elemental, we have everything. Get my Elemental out. I get double Liquid Magma Totem, I almost die. Stormkeeper, Bloodlust. Here comes our Ascendance window, ready? Boom. Now we got big Earthquakes into big Chain Lightnings. Got an instant Tempest there. We pulled some aggro. We're at 4 million. Our peak here is, I think, just over 4 million. 4.9, I think, is where we peak here. And he chain pulls this, which is really good. So this pull lasts a lot longer, but you can see how quickly we just annihilated that pack. I think if you were on a higher key level, you could peak higher with Tempest and stuff, because the mobs would just last longer and you'd be able to stay positioned in your spot that you're in. It would just be easier. But the peak is really good. I think it's higher than the Farseer one was. It was about 1 million damage higher than the Farseer one in terms of the peak there. Okay, last couple AoE packs here. Okay, nothing too crazy. Again, between 2 and 4 million every single time. And then we have another AoE pack we got to kill before the boss, just like last time. We're gonna clean up this trash, and then I will not have Ascendance right away, and we do not have Bloodlust, but that's same as the last one. I'll get Ascendance up here. Primordial Wave into a big Tempest. Our opening DPS is fine here. It's a little low, but it will scale. And as soon as we get more targets, it just gets way, way better for the Tempest build in particular. This is the weakness, I would say, of the Tempest build, of the Stormbringer build versus the Farseer build. So here's some big Chain Lightnings. We're padding damage essentially, but the ads do need to die. It's not useless damage for us to be doing that. And here's our Ascendance window. We have a Tempest ready to go. So we do an Earth Shock into a Tempest, get big damage going, and then we got to deal with the affix, unfortunately. I hate this affix so much. This is the worst affix in the game by far. Getting lots of procs on Aftershock, which is really great. That helps this build a lot. Probably more than the Farseer build, I would say, for sure. There's an Ascendance proc. So it's looking good. The damage is fine. I'm going to skip to the end here. Okay. Tank dies, but it's not the end of the world. Somebody gets him up. We're maintaining 1.05 million damage per second. And on the final boss here, that is where we end up landing. We land at 1.05 million DPS on Tredova by the very end. So 1.04, 1.05. That's that, okay? So the final number here is 1.68 million. So we did 1.78 million DPS on the Farseer build. On this build, we did 1.68 million, and I'll show you the numbers here. Looking like Chain Lightning, Earthquake. There's the big Lightning Rod. That's the difference, right? Lightning Rod versus the Elemental. Our Storm Elemental isn't even here. Look at him. The Greater Elementals from Stormkeeper. Our Storm Elemental's not even on the page yet. He's below Ellie Blast. He's doing like 1.1% of our damage. On the Farseer build, he was doing like 4.5% of our damage. So that's a pretty massive difference, and But of course the lightning rod damage on this build is way higher than the lightning rod damage on the other build, right? This is about 9.7% of our damage. And then if we click on the other one, I'm not clicking on it, but yeah, you can see the difference is, you know, 1.68 versus 1.78. So Farseer technically wins, but again, let me just say this with a grain of salt, right? That your the damage is really dependent on the group composition. It's dependent on the dungeon itself. If you're in a necrotic wake, it's probably way better to do Stormbringer, I would say, right? Lightning rod damage, you can see on the other one, it was like 9%. On this one, it's 3%, right? So that's a big difference in lightning rod damage. Probably isn't worth taking the elemental, I wouldn't say, although this is just this is just on the boss. Sorry, this isn't overall. Never mind. Forget that. Scratch that. This isn't overall. I'm just comparing damage to damage. So let's do that really quick. I'm going to compare. So if we look at the first boss, Ingram Moloch, first boss damage for Farseer was 1.81 million. For Stormbringer, it was 1.91 million. So Stormbringer actually beat Farseer on the first boss. Okay. On Mistcaller, Farseer was 1.05 million. Okay. And Stormbringer was 800k. So it was a lot less. 250,000 damage less, basically. Close to that. 200k less. Okay. On Tredova, the final boss, we've got 1.29 million for Farseer. And then you've got 1.05 million for the Storm build. So those single target fights, the Ancestors are absolutely doing more damage, for sure. They are doing more damage than the Storm build. But again, if you had mass AoE packs, I think multiple Tempests inside of a mass AoE pack would do much better. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please, I would love to hear from you. Remember, this is all, you know, it's variable. Please remember that there are multiple factors here that I can't control. I tried to control as much of it as I could, and I hope this is a fairer comparison for you. I do not think that this means that Farseer is better than Stormbringer in every single situation. That is not what it means, okay? What it means is, in certain situations, Farseer is probably better than Stormbringer. But in lots of other situations, Stormbringer would be better. It just depends on the composition, the dungeon, the blah, 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 everything, right? So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for watching. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.